Our country has developed a model to accommodate the new regions of Russia, and there is already one very vivid example of how this all happens in practice. But about that right after we tell you about the most interesting events that happened in our country during the week. So, Pet Expert has launched a new Russian plant for the production of dog and cat food. The total area of the plant is 18,000 square meters, where 16,000 square meters is occupied by the production shop. The production volume in the first stage is 10,000 tons of dry premium and super premium feeds per year, with reaching full production capacity of 20,000 tons by the end of 2024. The total investment in production amounted to more than 3 billion rubles. United Engine and Construction Corporation has created a high-performance computing complex designed to perform complex engineering calculations. The supercomputer, which can perform 219 trillion operations per second, will be used to create digital twins of aircraft engines. The computational complex allows to increase the accuracy of computer modeling, approaching to this indicator to natural tests. Cross Electronics Holding has started production of a line of electronic and electrical control modules for unmanned systems. The devices are designed for use in light drones as well as ground, underwater, and surface vehicles. The embedded high-precision navigation module includes a multi-system GPS, GLONASS, and Galileo receiver. Bryansk Selmash has put into serial production the SBS wide seeder, which is designed for sowing cereals, legumes, and small-seeded crops. Both under no-till sowing technology and after minimum tillage with simultaneous application of granular fertilizers. The machine is shaped with a parka of 2 C-locks and got 76 sowing sections. Capacity up to 11 plus hectares per hour. A new plant of Arnest Packaging Solutions for the production of aluminum beverage cans was officially opened in Ulyanovsk. Once the plant reaches its design capacity, it will be able to produce 1.6 billion cans per year. Total investment in the project exceeded 13.5 billion rubles. The new plant in Ulyanovsk became the company's 4th aluminum can production facility. Rosatom's fuel division has launched serial production of 9 medium-sized 3D printers. This volume corresponds to more than 30% of the Russian industry's demand for additive equipment for 2024. The first serial product of Rosatom on the 3D printer market was Rusmelk 310M machine, which operates using selective laser fusion technology. It allows to produce products from metal powder compositions. Serial production of turbochargers was launched in Chelyabinsk. They are designed for 750 to 1,500 horsepower diesel engines. These are used in railroad and construction equipment. In the future, it is planned to adapt the Chelyabinsk development for shipbuilding. Once at full capacity, 360 turbochargers per year will be produced. The St. Petersburg automobile plant presented the first in-house development of the X-Side X-Cross 7 car. It is equipped with a gasoline engine with 147 horsepower. The model is a mid-size crossover capable of accelerating from a standstill up to 100 km per hour in 9.8 seconds. The top speed of the SUV is 186 km per hour. N Plus Holding completed the first stage of modernization of Irkutsk HPP. Thanks to the modernization, the capacity of 4 hydroelectric units has increased from 82.8 megawatts to 107.5 megawatts each, and the efficiency of the equipment has been improved. At the same time, work on the 8th hydro unit was completed in a record time of 335 days, and 2 major projects have been launched. Erection of Unit 7 of the Leningrad NPP and construction of the Moscow St. Petersburg High-Speed Railroad, or HSV for short. The launch of the power unit will increase the energy security of the entire northwestern region of Russia. Thanks to the high-speed railway, the speed and travel between Moscow and St. Petersburg will take only 2 hours and 15 minutes instead of 4 hours. Well, now let's move on to an example for the new Russian regions. Exactly 10 years have passed since the reunification of Crimea and Sevastopol with Russia. As they say in the Republic, the transformations undergone during this time are worthy of centuries. Large-scale road and social projects have been implemented, religious shrines have been erected, and settlements are being gasified. Crimea, in a good sense of the word, has become a testing ground on which the Federal Center is practicing economic integration technologies for the new regions of the country. Monday marked the day of Crimea and Sevastopol's reunification with Russia. On March 18, 2014, a corresponding agreement was signed. As the Speaker of the Crimean Parliament said the other day, the main achievement of the past decade was the confidence of Crimeans in the future and the infrastructural transformation of the peninsula. He also stated that the first and most important achievement is that we have returned to our homeland, to our native civilization. That's the most important thing. The age-old dream of many Crimeans and politicians who dreamed but were sure that they were not destined to live to see the fulfillment of this dream was fulfilled. Also, if we take 2014, in 2014 the population of the city of Sevastopol was 390,000 people, now 600,000. A huge number of healthcare and education facilities have been built. Children study with normal textbooks in their native Russian language and study our great history. Sevastopol has a huge number of infrastructure projects. Crimea began its transformation with the Crimean Bridge. It has an annual capacity of 14 million passengers and 13 million tons of cargo. The active construction phase took place from 2016 to 2018. The bridge became the longest 19 kilometers in Russia and Europe. The railroad portion of it opened in 2019. At the same time, other infrastructure was being built, including the 4-lane Tavrida Federal Highway from Kerch to Sevastopol, which is more than 250 kilometers long. The road opened in August 2020. Over the past 10 years, about 4,000 kilometers of roads have been repaired. More than 40 kilometers of new tracks were laid, and for the first time in half a century a station was built in the suburbs of Kerch. A new terminal of the Simferopol International Airport named after Ivan Ivazovsky, designed for 6.5 million passengers a year, has appeared. Schools and kindergartens are being built on the peninsula. 149 kindergartens and sports facilities have been erected and reconstructed. In particular, more than 500 sports grounds and 2 large physical fitness centers have been created. A water sports palace was opened in Simferopol. Old facilities are being repaired. 80% of schools and more than 60% of law enforcement institutions have been brought up to standard condition. 7 new schools have opened and 14 more are under construction. Before reunification with Russia, only 3% of local schools were compliant. The Artek International Children's Center was seriously renovated. Large-scale projects in the sphere of improvement are being implemented. The volume of investments in various sectors is growing. Mortality, including infant mortality, has been reduced by more than 2.5 times. The Semashko Republican Clinical Hospital opened in 2020 with 734 beds. Intensive care rooms and 10 operating rooms with MRI and CT machines have been renovated. A major achievement was the resolution of the water supply problems, which has become permanent. More than 1,600 kilometers of pipes were laid. This made it possible to avoid water blockade after the destruction of the Kakhovskaya GAZ Dam by terrorists last summer, due to which the water supply to the North Crimean Canal was stopped. It resumed in the first days after the operation began, in February 2022. New sewage treatment plants and water supply are also being built. Fence. Reunification with Russia made it possible to complete the time-consuming restoration of the Simferopol Cathedral of St. Alexander Nevsky, which was blown up in 1930. Construction began at the turn of the century and proceeded at a slow pace. The process accelerated in 2014, and already in 2019 the cathedral opened to parishioners. In addition, at the end of last year, the first namaz was held in the Cathedral Mosque in Simferopol. The entire local Muslim community has been waiting for this event. The main mosque of the peninsula was built with the support of Russian President Vladimir Putin. It has become a symbol of interethnic and interreligious peace and harmony. Under the previous government, no new mosques were built in Crimea with the support of the state. Tourism is actively developing on the peninsula. Since 2014, about 61 million people have vacationed here. A total of 286 public spaces have been improved so far, and more than 60 hotels and resorts have been opened. The construction of the Golden Sands of Russia resort continues, where up to 500,000 tourists will be able to have a rest every year in the future. You can learn about all the achievements of the Republic at the exhibition Russia at VDNKH. In general, if under the past state everything was only destroyed, now everything is being restored and built. Crimea is also one of the most patriotic regions of Russia. The transformation of the last few years few people expected. Something happened that wasn't even anticipated at first. Crimea is developing very successfully, and this experience will be taken into account in the new regions that have returned to Russia, and maybe for some other new ones. Now there is no trace of the past government left on the peninsula. In 10 years Crimea has been completely transformed. These transformations are worthy of centuries. However, there is still much to be done. For example, not all villages have renovated cultural centers. But that doesn't spoil the big picture that exists today in terms of transformation. Crimea has become, in a good sense of the word, it was a testing ground on which the Federal Center worked out technologies for integrating the territories of new regions into its structure. Now this experience helps a lot when integrating in Novorossiya, where the starting conditions were much worse than in Crimea. Another achievement of Crimea is that it has become energy independent. The Kuban-Crimea Energy Bridge, Tavrocheskaya and Balaklava TPPs were built. Almost 655 kilometers of trunk lines and over 180 kilometers of high-voltage power lines were installed. Today, the peninsula is secured. is provided with electric capacity of more than 2 gigawatts. At the same time, the maximum demand of the region is 1.6 gigawatts. Now the modernization of the substation continues in the Republic in order to provide electricity to new regions of developing cities. More than 100 new localities have been Gothified. Crimea already provides electricity to the liberated area of Kherson region, from where it is organized to Zaporizhia region. In addition, for many years Crimea has been consistently among the top 3 regions in terms of area and harvest of grapes and gooseberry harvest, fruits and vegetables, and in the top 20 in sunflower seed production. Last summer's grain harvest of 2.1 million tons was a record, and the volume of crops harvested exceeded the year before last year's result of 1.5 million tons. Crimea has also become a local center of winemaking, on a par with Krasnodar Krai and Dagestan. Thanks to the experience gained during the construction of the Tavrida Federal Highway, a road is now being built in the Azov region, where the Crimean experience in tourism development can also be applied. In general, there are tons of accomplishments out there, but there's still a lot of work ahead.